Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Lifestyle Boost Podcast. It's your host, Emma Mabo.
And Dosia Mabo.
And we're back with another episode. Today, we're going to talk about relationships. It's a touchy topic. I remember you had asked me to talk about relationships a few episodes ago, and I was like, I'm not ready for that conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be asking you a couple questions today because obviously you are in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I've been single for a good while. So I will be asking you questions and, just answer to the best of your knowledge and your experiences.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay, guys. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, tell me about how dating has been for you. Like, as compared to back home, how has dating been for you in the United States?
I feel like it's a long ride, though. Like, for me, like, dating has definitely been, like, a roller coaster of emotions because like back home, like obviously I was in a relationship and like that relationship taught me a lot. In that relationship, I was doing certain things or like agreeing to certain situations because I was scared. And like, whoever I was dating at that time was like an older person. And at that time, whatever he would say, I would just kind of just go with the flow. So for instance, like, I remember one time that, I wanted us to spend time together. Right. And, I don't remember what I did. I must have said something wrong to him. And he was like, oh, I'm not going to spend time with you anymore. And I remember how hurt I was. And like, it's not even hurt. I guess like I was more scared than I was hurt.
So you feel like he was very controlling?
He was very controlling. Yeah. And so like, I remember literally begging this man, like, oh, like, please spend time with me. But then like, now when I remember those things, I cringe so much.
Yeah.
But that relationship was a very weird one. He was definitely a narcissist because like, whenever he would do something wrong, it would always be like, and I wanted to voice it. I would always, get like, he would always gaslight me. And it was always a situation where he would say like, oh, I did this because you did that. So I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? It was always like, this was done because you did this. So therefore I'm not on the wrong. And so that was that back home. And so when I moved out here, it was a lot. Like when I moved out here, I feel like, one, I didn't think I was pretty. Like back home,
Tell me about it, girl.
Yeah, like back home, I knew I was the shit back home.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I was pretty as hell. Like, those guys asking me out every single day. You know what I mean? But then when I moved out here, I legitimately didn't think I was pretty.
It's a touch in your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Whenever you move out here, just to piggyback to what you're saying, whenever you move out, at least in my experiences, when I moved out here, because back home, like, obviously, I had all these multiple guys talking to me. It's not that because a guy talks to you, then you feel like you're pretty.
Yeah.
That's not the case, but you can't help but feel like that.
Yeah.
It's a situation where back home, multiple guys are approaching you, you know, and like you're having to like, like talk to guys all the time and be like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. And then when you come over here, it's just a thing of the beauty standards out here is completely different from back home.
Yeah.
So that was just to piggyback. But go ahead.
Yeah, like for me, that was the case though. And like, one thing that I'm really proud that I didn't do is like, I felt a lot of pressure and I felt like, oh, like no one is even asking you out as it is. So if anyone asks you, just accept. That's what I felt. But then like, I'm so happy I didn't do that because like there was a guy that approached me and it was so bad that this dude was like, he didn't even have like a phone bill. Like he was texting me via email.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like he was texting me via email and it was so bad. And at some point I was like, what am I doing? Like what am I doing? And at that point, like I was just entertaining it because in my head I was like, well, no one is even asking you out. You know what I mean? Like no one's asking. So I genuinely didn't think that I was a pretty girl. And like I did look pretty. And at that time I had just obviously started college. In college, it was a weird experience because like everyone had their little cliques. Of course, like kids in college, like, like everyone has like their little girl group or guy group or whatever. I eventually made friends, and even still, it's not that I felt that I was the ugly friend or anything like that. I just had a lot of self-confidence issues. Like I felt like back home, my confidence was up here and then I traveled and my confidence was like literally on ground level.
Oh yeah, I can totally relate to that.
But it definitely was different. Like I feel like back home I had more confidence in the dating world. Okay, like I don't know if I'll say more confidence, but in the sense of like I was more approachable. Like guys would like come up to me and ask me out and stuff like that. So I was confident in the sense that like I feel pretty, you know, but the relationship I was in was a very toxic relationship. Like, you know, I never got hit or anything like that. No, but it was just a thing of the mind games were crazy. Like he was just very manipulative, and walking out from that relationship, I was like, I will never let anyone treat me again like this. Like, for one, I am going to like, and this is something that I feel like a lot of people don't speak a lot on, is that you hold resentment. And I talk about this a lot to you. You hold resentment, but like a lot of people don't even think that they're holding resentment. It could be as something as little as like your partner annoys you, and like in your head you're like, oh, like it's pissing me off, and like, but you don't voice it. And then like imagine that thing happening 5 more times, and then like one day you just explode, and they're like, whoa, like where did this come from, you know? And it turns out to be this big thing. And I feel like that's what was happening in my relationship back home, because like it wasn't even little things that would happen. Like major things will happen, and we'll have major arguments, and I wouldn't say anything to it. I'll kind of just make myself like smaller so he feels good about himself. But you know, it's definitely like my relationship now is the healthiest I've been in, and like it's definitely contrast from what it was back home.
Okay, so for me, I feel like back home, and this is gonna sound really bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I feel like any relationship that I had before I turned 18, I don't consider that relationships. They're more of like childhood friendships for me, because back then I don't know that I knew what a relationship was.
Yeah.
I don't know that I didn't know what I wanted in a relationship. So right now, I know exactly what I want in a relationship. You know, I know exactly what kind of dating life I want to be in.
Yeah.
So when I think back to like my past relationships, I can't help but just classify them as not even relationships. Do you get what I
but
mean?
like, do you at least like acknowledge that you learned something from that?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. And I'm not even being oblivious to like the relationships I was in, because you know my very first relationship was the best one I've been in so far. And you know, I was obviously still super young at the time. You know, we were dating in school. You know, so like I want to think that was the best I had so far. And after that, everything else was just, you know, it wasn't relationship vibes. It was just like, no.
Yeah.
Do you get what I
like
mean?
for me, I feel like I kind of had it easy though. And like, well, not easy, but like, how can I say this? Because, you know, and if we choose to go into this, but like for me, I feel like I had this moment where I moved out and I was single for like 4 years, and then I started dating. But then those 4 years were brutal 4 years. Like those, it was so bad that like I literally looked up online like relationship psychics, and I found this lady, and like I don't remember what app it was back then, but they charged me like $16 per minute, like very stupid. But like
$16 per minute.
it was
LOL.
they literally charged me like 20 something dollars for speaking to that person for like 2 minutes. But I remember asking her, like, I am so lonely. Am I ever going to get into a relationship? I remember her telling me that you're going to get in a relationship in 2020, but whoever you get in a relationship with, not 2020, she just said, you're going to get into a relationship, but like that person's not going to be your soulmate. That's what she said. And then she said something else that I don't remember. She was just like, yeah, you're going to get into a relationship, but like the relationship's not going to work out. Something along the lines of that. And like, obviously that's not what I was looking to hear. Like, I don't want to hear like, oh, you're going to get into a relationship, but FYI, it's not going to work out. You know what I mean? Like, and I choose to like, after that, I felt so stupid, because I was like, why would I even want to know a future? Like, we don't even know what's going to happen to us 6 minutes from now. Like, why do I want to know, you know, like, why do I want that to be predictable? And so like, but those 4 years was a very weird time for me. And like, I can't even tell you that I was in situationships, because I really wasn't. Like, I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was just like nothing. And like, I did try the online dating, which a lot of people do right now. It was a disaster for me. It was just not it. People like, you know, the conversations went from 0 to 100. People are already talking about like sex positions, and I was just like, no, like I was just
super
not having
cringy
it.
too.
Yeah,
you know, like when I don't know why this is very hard for me to talk about this stuff. When I started, because obviously I've been single since I came out here, and it's like I've been here 5 years already. And when I came, the first, obviously, like back home, you know that you're the shit.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
that like I'm that girl. Do you get what I mean? And then when I get out here, it's a complete different thing.
Yeah.
First of all, the beauty standards are completely different. I've been chubby since birth.
Yeah.
And remember back home, I got so many compliments.
I know, like that's the thing. I mean? Like back home, men love chubby.
Yes,
women.
I got so many compliments. And then when I moved out here, you're the ugly friend.
Yeah, it was almost like you're not the standard of
you're
beauty.
not the standard of dating. Yeah. And it's crazy. But you know, when I moved out here, it was just bad. And I remember at some point I wasn't even trying to date anymore. I was just like, I'm gonna be like so oblivious about the whole dating thing. And I want to say those were like probably the best moments I had, because like I wasn't trying to look good for anybody. Whatever I did for myself. Yeah. You know, and after that, you know, I started feeling lonely or whatever, and then I went back on dating app. And dating apps, don't do dating apps, guys. Like,
do you remember, like, I don't know how deep you want to go, but do you remember you had told me to save some screenshots from this one?
Yes, and that's why I said it's so hard for me to talk about this stuff, because it doesn't bother me anymore. FYI, it doesn't bother me, and I'm not gonna get too deep into it. But you know, I was chatting with this guy, and we were fine or whatever, and then we had to go on a date or whatever, and you know, he just got super disrespectful. I'm not gonna get into the details of it, but like, it's funny how you talk to somebody and y'all are discussing and y'all are like having a nice chat, and while y'all are talking, you're the prettiest person ever, and then once something doesn't go his way, he targets you and try to like talk down on you, like, oh, you're like, a fat bitch, blah, blah. You know, try to like poke you where it hurts. And in my head, I'm just thinking like, I wasn't a fat bitch when you were trying to talk to me. Right. I wasn't a fat bitch when you were trying to fuck me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so all this stuff, like, it comes to, and you can't, it bothers me. You know, it bothers me. And so after that experience was when I was like, you know what, fuck no, I'm not dating anybody. I'm just going ghost. So, and that happened in 2021. The rest of the year.
And I remember how like that played out, because like, you know, I remember you had this glow on your face and you're like, oh, I'm talking to someone new and stuff like that. And like, I didn't even know you had gone to the stage where you guys were seeing each other in person. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, like if you guys are seeing each other, you now know this person, like you kind of like, you know, like are in a different stage, I want to say. But it was so weird how like, when that one instance, that one incident happened, and he was like, and that's the thing, even for me, like I feel like me and my ex, we didn't end on like the best terms, because I was just like, screw you, like no, like we're done. But I had so many reasons to curse at him. I had so many reasons to be like, you're a narcissist, like you're, you know, you play mind games, like you're literally a mind fuck. I had so many reasons like to insult him and say such things, but like I feel like that says a lot about you as a person. As a person, yeah. If you choose to like be demeaning and like condescending to another person, you know, when things don't go well.
I've also gotten to a point in my life where like, whatever you say to me to target me, like you will not get a reaction out of me. Yeah. Because a lot of people try to target you, especially when they're trying to talk to you. You know, they try to like target your appearance or your looks, character, and you know, they try to get a reaction out of you. But I've gotten to the point where like you would not get a reaction. Like, it doesn't even matter what you tell me. I'll just be like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's how it should be though, because like you should keep your confidence. You know?
But anyways, we're gonna go to the next question. So obviously you didn't mention that you were with a manipulative ex, right? So what are some signs that showed you that this person was very manipulative?
Oh my God, that's funny. Like, a lot is coming to my mind right now, because like, back then I thought it was cool. Like I really thought it was okay. Like I really thought like, oh, this must be normal. Like let
me just add this, you know, sorry to call you short. Let me just add this real quick, because I've been in a situation like that. When you're in situations like that, and especially if the person is a little bit older than you, you think that whatever they say is automatically right. It's right, yeah. You know, because obviously you think like, oh, he has more experience than me. He knows what he's talking about. But all this while, they're just gaslighting you. You know what I'm saying? And but go ahead.
What was the question again?
What are some signs that your partner is being manipulated?
Okay, so for me, there was a lot that happened back then. I'll give a couple of examples. So there was one time he came to me because this person said that like they were very religious and that like, you know, they go to church. The irony, right?
Yeah.
They're very religious and they go to church and they pray and this one and the third. And so I remember one time he came back and he was like, oh, because he also did modeling, right? And he was a really beautiful man. Like, he looked really nice.
Yeah.
And so I thought, like, because you're a really stunning looking man, of course your character matches with that, right?
Appearance.
Absolutely not. So he was Christian and he was very religious, like super religious. And so, but he was also a model. And he came one day and he was telling me the story. And he said that he went out and there was this lady at his church, right, that wanted to have like a business meeting with him, and the lady owned like a perfume shop or whatever, and she wanted him to be a model. And I was like, oh great, that's a super good opportunity, like definitely take that. So come the day when like they have to go to this meeting, and so they go to the botanical garden, and I was like, okay, well that's a weird place to have a business meeting, but okay. So they go to this garden, and keep in for those who don't know this garden is supposed to be like a very romantic garden. Usually tourists go to the garden to go tour, or if not, like usually like couples will usually be in that garden. So at first I was just like, that was the first thing, but like I ignored it and I was like, it's probably not that deep. And then he's explaining this story to me and saying like, oh, she's actually divorced, and she was telling me that she's divorced, and I was like, okay, like I'm still waiting for the part where you're to tell me about the business meeting, right? And so he goes on to say, well, she started telling me that she's just very lonely and that like her divorce is not going very well, this one and the third. And then she leans in to kiss me. And I'm like, okay. And then he said, well, she did kiss me, but like, it wasn't like anything like serious or anything like that. And in my head, I'm like, damn, why am I hearing this? Yeah. And it's the way he was saying it so nonchalantly, like,
oh yeah, I'm a fine boy.
Right,
Girls
right,
throw
like
at me.
exactly. And he would always do that. This is just one of the like experiences. Yeah. And like, I went home that day and I was very upset. And I was telling myself like, you're supposed to be upset. Like, this is supposed to upset you, right? But then whenever I'll bring up that conversation, he'll be like, well, I mean, like, it's not me. It's her. Like, it's not me. It's not like I was going after her. Yeah. She's coming after me. And so, like, of course, you feel guilt because you're like, I can't really go after you. But then now that I see it, I'm like, you gave her the opportunity and you were entertaining it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because you were entertaining it, and the fact that you were saying it to me as if it was a brag, as if I was just one of your bros. Like, bro, like this lady just tried to kiss me. Like, you imagine like this chick, you know what I mean? And that wasn't just the only situation. There was other times where this person would like come up to me and tell me like, oh, these girls at my church, like, like they love sitting next to me in church, and like they just love my outfits, and they just love how I look. Like, they tell me because he's light skinned and he was light skinned, and like he was like, oh, they just like my complexion and stuff like that. And I'm over here, the girlfriend, just looking like a clown, just listening to what he's saying, and I'm like, okay, why am I hearing these things? But those were like, and then whenever I would try to tell him like, I'm not supposed to be hearing what you're telling me right now, he would then go on to say like, well, it's not my fault. Like, it's not like I'm
just a fine boy.
Yeah, like I can't help it. But that's manipulative. Yeah. And whenever I was trying to like fight back or like at least stand up for myself, he would gaslight me and say like, but like, shouldn't you be happy that like you have a good looking boy or whatever?
So, but for me, right, and I'm not speaking about one particular relationship. I'm like taking points from like each of the relationships that I've been in to talk about this. One of the relationships that I was in, the guy, I remember I caught him cheating. I saw some text messages on his phone or whatever, and I saw that he was fucking cheating. And when I tried to bring it up, it was like, why did you go in? Yeah, like, look into my phone to begin with. Yeah. And keep in mind, like, when I'm dating somebody, I don't invade their privacy. I don't look at their phones or anything. Yeah. But this time I was younger and I saw signs. Do you get what I mean? Like, I've seen things that lead me to know that you're cheating on me. So obviously, if your phone is right there, obviously I would look.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would do that right now, because the person I am right now, I would not go through a man's phone or anything, because I believe that what you're looking for, you're gonna
find it. Yeah.
You know, but back then, like, I just had all the signs that showed me that you are cheating on me.
Yeah.
You know, and so obviously I looked through the messages, and it was clear as day at like 4K. You know, I saw the fucking messages, and when I try to stand up for myself and act like you're cheating on me, bro, they gaslit the hell out of me, you know. And then I ended up saying, you know, I'm sorry, I should never gone to your phone.
You
know, like,
because they're like, you know, why did you get into my phone, and why did you do this,
and when I think about that right now, it upsets me so much, because I'm like, I saw the signs. I've been seeing all this stuff that I had all this evidence, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's not even that, is the fact that when they try to have you do something and you're like, nah, I'm not feeling that, and then they're like, oh, you don't want to do that because you don't love me, and it's
right.
Are you for real? You know?
Like, for me, mine was even terrible, because like those times, like every date that we would go out on, I would pay.
Oh
yeah. Like, and now when I think about it, I'm just like, my head is this big when I think about it now, because like those days, whenever we would go on dates, I would pay, and that was normal. Like, there was one time that like I gave him money to pay my taxi to go home, and I must have been standing like maybe 10 feet away from him. Do you know, this man literally was, because he was, usually when you call a taxi, it should be like, okay, I'm going to this location, cool, right? Do you know, this man stood down, was literally, and he told me to stand like literally maybe 10 feet away from him, and he was having a conversation with the taxi. Little do I know that he was like, what do you call it, like negotiating the price for the fare, for the taxi fare. And so he only gave the guy half of what I had given him, and he pocketed the change. Damn. Like that I don't know what other level of low that is. You know what I mean? And he's just looking at me, and like, I know what's happening. Like, I'm not stupid. Yeah. But then like, I still just let it happen. Like, oh, that's just normal. You know, that's normal. Oh, it is what it is. But like, I paid for everything most of the time. Like, it was actually sad. But yeah.
Okay. The next question that I have, it says, could you recover from infidelity? And if yes, what are the steps you can take to rebuild trust and intimacy?
Can I recover from infidelity? Absolutely not. Me neither. I feel like this is one thing that like a lot of people need to have. For me, like in my current relationship, like I love us so much, because like we're really good at communicating with one another. And what we like, okay, so we have like level grounds, right? Like, what we talk about every little thing. And one of the things that we talked about is like, I have my non-negotiables and you have your non-negotiables. My non-negotiables is that if one day you wake up and I catch you sleeping with someone, or I've caught you like cheated on me with someone, we're finished. Like, we're done. We're not moving forward. Is it gonna hurt? Absolutely. It's literally probably gonna wreck me. You know what I mean? But like, I just know that I'm never gonna see you the same again. I know myself that much. I'm very emotionally intelligent in the sense that I know that if I was to take you after that, we're just gonna be playing with one another, because like, I'm never gonna trust you, and I'm always gonna be walking on eggshells. Like, oh, if he goes out to the store to go buy something, I'll be like, is he texting her? Is he going to go see her? I'm not gonna put myself through such torture. Like, I'm just not gonna do that.
It's pretty similar with me, because being single has taught me a lot, right? And I would never, ever take a man back if they cheat on me, because when I go into a relationship, I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be my person, you know, we're not gonna cheat on each other. But if you cheat, the moment you cheat on me once, we're done. And another reason is because you know, put everything else aside, if you're intimate with another person that is not me, I don't know what you went and got from that person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And also, being in nursing school has taught me a lot about like STDs and STIs. Literally, like, you can get something like, you know, this is really out of topic, but you know, syphilis, the STI, syphilis stays in a woman unrecognized for over 40 years. You know, so you wouldn't even know.
Is that STD or STI?
Sexually transmitted infections or diseases.
Infections. Okay. Yeah.
So like, you can literally be a girl and you have syphilis and you would not know.
Yeah, it's undetected.
And it's undetected and it stays in you. It could stay for about 40 years, you know. And guess what? Syphilis could lead to, because it's congenital and it's like a systemic infection, you could end up with Alzheimer's and dementia, you know. But that's beside the point. Like, I would not take a man back because number one, you broke the trust that we have.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't know whatever you got from that lady out there to come give it to me.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And number three, it's just so disrespectful.
And I feel like obviously intimacy is a very like, to me, I feel like it's a very, how can I say it? It's sacred between two people.
Yes.
Like, you know, and I feel like if I'm literally given the, what word can I use? Like, that's the most of myself I can give to a person. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I've literally given everything to you if I'm intimate with you, right? And so for you to just throw that away and like just go to another person.
Yeah, if you feel like you can get it from somewhere else, then clearly we shouldn't be together.
Like for me, I feel like obviously going back to your question that you asked, like I would definitely not take you back. However, I would want to know what led you to, you know, have a wandering eye. Like I would want to know if it's something I did, if it's something I wasn't doing enough, you know, because whether it's morally correct or not, there is things that people do within relationships that obviously makes their partner to go out and, you know, like cheat or whatever.
Yeah.
One could be like each whoever partner, it's not really on the female or the male, but it could be one of the partners retaining sex. Like they don't want to like be intimate with their partner. Of course the partner is going to go get it from someone else. It's not morally correct, but then there was like events that led up to that. However, it doesn't excuse that. It doesn't
make it right. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing with me. I just feel like, you know, and my opinions are my opinions. They're very subjective. There are people that will take partners back after the partners cheat on them. You know, fair enough to you. Like, I don't know what.
And of course, there is people that like have seen a silver lining at the end of it. You know, and they can proudly talk. They can proudly sit and say like, oh, you know what, like, he's cheated X amount of time, she's cheated X amount of time, and like we've found a way to make it work. If that's you, perfect, you know,
just kudos to you. But like me personally, I don't know that I would take a guy back.
For me, trust is kind of like water in a glass. Like once that water hits the ground and, you know, like, and it's spilled water.
You can't get that back. Okay, so the next question that I have is obviously like the last part of the question was like, if you would take a partner back, what are some steps? Obviously, I can't tell you all the steps.
No, because I can't see myself in that situation.
I can't see myself in that situation.
I refuse to see myself
Me
in that
too.
situation.
Like literally, I refuse. Like because if you can step out and get sex from another woman, you might as well be with her.
And this is something too, like I suppose like that's very tricky and it's very circumstantial in the sense that like, if you're in a situation where you have children, and I suppose you have to think twice about it. However, I feel like if I was in the children, like if I had children in the scene,
that makes it worse.
This sounds very bad, but like I'm still gonna be selfish though and think about me. Like I know, like I have to like think about the children at the same time, but like I'm not gonna give up myself, because the thing is, if I take that person back, I'm not gonna show up as my best self to those children anyway. You know what I mean? And you've never died because you've chosen to like divorce a person and like chose your happiness over being in a messy relationship. And I feel like your energy, like definitely, your energy radiates on the children.
Exactly.
You know
what
I mean?
That's exactly
like,
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
you know,
like
funny,
your energy radiates on the children. So they will feel the disconnect. They'll feel the disconnect
because they'll be like, why is mom acting like this towards dad? You know? And I don't know that it's a healthy way. It's a healthy place to be
I think people underestimate how intelligent children are. And they always say like, oh, we're just doing this for the children. We're just doing it for the children. Like, I personally feel like, you know, if our parents was to ever tell us like I want to have a divorce, I'll probably be like, you know what, like I would rather know and like be clear about it than stay in a toxic household where you guys are either always fighting or always butting heads. Like I would rather know that like, okay, there's no animosity or whatever, and there's no like violence in front of me, but like you guys are in your own space. Like I would rather know that.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this one, and it's very tricky, which is another thing that's on my list: standards versus preferences. So for me, right, I've been single, so keep in mind I've listened to all the podcasts that you could possibly put out there about relationships, about the kind of standards that you want to build. You know, I even bought a book on TikTok. It's called The Inner Child. I think
I've seen
you
that.
know,
there's
and
a whole, like,
I've gone through that book. You know, I journal. I've done introspection. There's nothing that I've not done. You know? So when it comes to standards versus preferences, my standards or my preferences will never dictate my standards. You know, my standards are very fixed. It's like a wall. That is not going to be broken. So my preferences are completely different. How you look is a preference. But how you act,
that's a completely different
standard.
thing.
You know, it's like, it's the way you act. You've seen that on TikTok? You know, it's like my preferences will never dictate my standard. So my standard is like, my standards are almost like non-negotiables. It comes to like the cheating stuff. Like that's a standard, you know, like if you cheat on me, I'm never going to take a guy that cheats back. But a preference is like, for me, a preference is like, okay, how you look, you know, your weight. That's a preference, you know, as compared to personality. What about you? What do you think?
I think I have an interesting take on that too. It's very similar to what you're saying. But like for me, you know, I always had this delusion, and like again, going back to the ex that I was talking about, he was a beautiful man. Like he had a 6-pack, like tall, like light skin, everything. Like he was a really good looking man. And so like all those boxes were checked off in the sense of like, oh, what's the preference of a man I would want?
Right.
Like all of those boxes were checked off. Now, when it came to like the personality, like the morals and all of that stuff, I don't know that was there, you know? And so for me right now, obviously, like I have a beautiful man that I'm dating right now, and like, but it was never a thing where I was thinking in my head, like, I need a 7-foot tall guy. I need a guy with a 6-pack. I need a guy, like, it was never that.
I need a Italian mogul.
Right. Or like a rich
7
guy.
figures.
No,
you know, like
it wasn't that to me.
That's a preference.
Right. To me, it was all about like how you make me feel, how you treat me. Do you grab my door for me? It's like the little things. Yeah.
And it's like, for me, when it comes to like standards and stuff, it's like you need to be honest. You know, you need to be God-fearing. You know, you need to. Anger should not be a thing,
right? And
you know
like,
what I'm saying.
You need to be able to articulate your like whatever you're feeling, like put it into words.
Exactly. You know, I refuse to be with a guy that is all angry and then before you know it, boom, he punches a one, leaves a hole. Like, you know,
I think that's one thing too. Aside from the cheating part, if you ever lay your hands on me, we're done. Like, because it should never get to that point.
Take your anger to the gym. Take your anger to anger release room or whatever and release it there. You know, nobody is a punching bag. Violence should never be the answer.
Like that should not even be like a thing. Me and my boyfriend right now, we have this rule, right? Where we talk about it a lot, and we're like, we set, you know, standards, and we're like, we're never gonna call each other out of our names. So it doesn't matter if like we're so upset at each other, we will never call each other out of our names.
Imagine your partner, y'all are arguing before you know he calls you the B word.
That's what I'm saying. And like they're like, you know, like you're stupid, you're dumb. Like if it's not okay. I suppose there has to be context, and if we're just playing and I'm like, oh, you're stupid or whatever, that's different. That's a different thing. But if we're having a heated conversation and like you're calling me out of my name, it doesn't matter if you're having that conversation to me or someone else. Like one, we talked about it, and like, I'm never gonna call you out of your name. You're never gonna call me out of my name. 2, we're never screaming at each other in public. Like we're never screaming. Mad. We're never raising our voices at each other in public. If you try it, I'm walking away.
Exactly.
Like you are not disrespecting me in public. Like I'm never gonna have like, you know, a heated conversation with you, and in relation to you not screaming at me in public. Like if we're out and about, right? Like we're in a setting where there's a couple of people, I could disagree with something. Like I can just disagree with you on something or on a topic, but I'm not like, let's say you say something wrong to me or do something wrong to someone else, right? I'm never going to embarrass you in front of other people. Like because I'll take it home. No need to. I would take it home with me. Like when we get home, okay, let's talk about what the fuck happened today. But like, I see people that just call out their partners in public, or just like blatantly disrespect their partners in public, and I'm like, that's wrong. Like wrong. It's not what you're doing that is wrong. It's how you're going about it.
It's not even cute.
No, it's not. Like it gives this idea that you guys are so argumentative, you know? So yeah, the first thing was that we're never calling each other out of our names. We're never raising our voices at each other, especially not in public. And you know, like if we're going to be respectful of each other, like I'm never going to like speak down on your family. You're never going to speak down on my family, no matter what happens. Like you're never disrespecting any family member of mine. And those were like, level grounds that we had to set boundaries, because if not, people will definitely cross boundaries.
Yeah, no, for sure. Have you ever heard about limerence?
About what?
Limerence.
No, what is that?
Okay, so I'm on a whole journey. Like, you can call me Jay Shetty right now, but I was, doing my little groundwork, and like, the book I was reading, the Inner Child book.
Yeah.
I came across a video on TikTok, and this lady spoke about limerence, right?
Yeah.
So limerence can also be defined as an involuntary state of intense desire for someone, marked by intrusive thoughts and a desire for a relationship and reciprocation.
Okay.
That is me in another word. Like, if I'm talking to somebody, right, I start being in Delulu land. I'm thinking about, like, and this is, it has to be people that go through this, right? I'm thinking about a wedding day, what we're gonna name our kids. Flowers, bro. You know how obsessive I am with flowers.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how he's gonna buy me flowers. I'm delusional. Like, I'm in Delulu land. And, when I thought about it, I'm like, but why do I act like that? Why do I get so attached to somebody? Like, it could even be somebody from a dating app. I start having this delusional thoughts. And, I had to question myself, like, but why do I act like that? What is it that is making me to act a certain type of way to this person that I barely even know anything about? And, I didn't know what to label these feelings until I watched TikTok. And this girl said it's called limerence. So I started looking into what limerence is, and because I've been single for such a long time, I've spoken to a couple people, and every single one of them this has happened with. Like, I start chatting with them, they say one or two things that are not even, like, it's just basic stuff.
Can I tell you why that is?
Go ahead.
Like, and I feel like, obviously I'll be real with you and tell you as it is.
Of course.
Like, I feel like the reason why you feel that way is because, like, you obviously have an idea of, like, be it whether it's a standard or whatever, you have an idea of who you want your person to be, right? Mm-hmm. Like, keep aside the looks and everything, but you have an idea of who you want your person to be. But I feel like the reason why, like, whenever you talk to someone, you, like, immediately imagine those things is because, like, that thing I always tell you, that when you're with someone, it's difficult to, like, not want the potential in that person. Yes. Like, like, you're not looking at the person in face value. Like, whoever I'm looking right now in front of me, do I like this person? Yes. Do I like, is this person a good person? Does this person have morals? Like, whoever is in front of me today, do I want to date this person, instead of a potential?
Right.
Like, does this person look like they could potentially respect me in the future? Do they look like they could potentially want to have kids? Mm-hmm. And kids is a whole nother conversation.
It's a whole nother conversation.
I feel like that's probably the reason why that is because, like, and it's nothing wrong, because we all do that. I've done that in the past, where, like, I almost forget for a second, like, oh, do I actually like this person that is in front of me in right now?
Value, right.
Instead of thinking, like, oh, in the future, when he has this job, or in the future when he changes, or in the future when he looks like X, like X as in the letter X, not my ex, Jesus Christ. But, like, in the future when he looks like, like, whatever you want him to look like,
right,
that's when I'll like him. But yeah, I feel like that's the reason why. And again, it's not wrong, because we all go through it. But yeah,
I feel like that's obviously good advice, because I catch myself doing that, and then it puts you in this state where, let's use an example, hypothetically speaking, right? If you're talking to a guy, or if I'm talking to a guy, and, like, they're taking super long to respond, or whatever it is, that, like, changes my mood for the entire day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it almost, like, ruins your day, but at the same time, it's like, this person doesn't owe you any loyalty.
They don't.
Y'all are just getting to know each other. You cannot expect them to text you all the time.
However, there's something called courtesy.
There's courtesy, exactly. But this is what I tell myself, not to get in that mood of being, like, upset all day.
Yeah, like, expecting too much.
This is me trying to save my feelings and tell myself, like, okay, you cannot expect this from this person, because they're just getting to know you. In as much as this is right, it's also very detrimental, because it's not okay.
I was gonna say, I feel like with you though, what I've noticed with you is, like, you self-sabotage a lot.
Oh yeah, I do.
Like I feel like that's something you do, and, like, we have these,
I do.
Like, we have these conversations, and I feel like you self-sabotage in the sense that, like, you're not a very patient person.
No.
To some degree, you're not. Like, with certain things you are, but like to some degree, you're not a very patient person. And that's why, like, I feel like what I'm about to say, people see it very differently. There are some people that obviously say like, oh, in a talking stage, if that person is talking to you for more than 3 months and there's no progress, then just dump it and move on. For me, I kind of see it differently, right? Like, I feel like if you're talking to someone, obviously, I feel like if it's a waste of your time. Like, you have to know if this person is just not, like, if there is not like a shift in the needle every single time you speak, then that's a waste of your time, right? And especially if you know that like there's no feelings involved, like you're not feeling any butterflies, then you're stalling. You're stalling right there. Yeah. However, I feel like nowadays people make it seem as if like within 2 or 3 weeks I'm supposed to know everything about this person. We're supposed to already be in a dating stage. Like, no, like for me, I'm a slow burner. I want to know who you are. Like, I want to know like your characteristics. I want to like know how you deal with conflict. I want to know how how you are when you're angry, how you are when you have an emergency. All of these things take time. I'm not just going to say, yes, let's date and be my boyfriend. I'm going to move in with you in 2 months.
In as much as I agree with that, the only thing that I'm going to say is like, there is this thing where, and I think it's very common because I've been on dating apps. I've chatted to a couple of people and I know how they act, at least from my experiences. People or guys nowadays, like whenever you text them, right? And it's not that you're expecting a text like back to back, but like you said, it's a courtesy thing, right? You would text somebody and they go hours without responding. But with me, I'm super fast when I respond to text messages because I'm a very busy person as well.
Yeah. And I hate when they use that excuse that, I was just busy. I'm just busy. It takes 3 seconds.
It's completely different with me because if I'm busy and you text me, I'll respond right away because if I don't, I'm going to forget.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's completely different with me. It's not that I'm desperate. It's not even that. It's like if I'm chatting with a guy that I see potential with, I will respond to your text message. I'm not going to waste your time. Yeah. But I feel like I've been in situations where it's the complete opposite. Like I'm responding to your text messages because there's no day that I'm not busy. You know, like I'm a very busy person. But on their end, they're just,
Didn't you once have this situation where like, this dude was obviously giving you signs like, I want to be with you, like I like you and stuff like that. And then the minute you caught feelings and started to reciprocate that, it was like, oh no, we're just friends. You're tripping. Like we're just friends.
He tried to gaslight me.
Okay. That upset me. I was just like, that's crazy.
Yes. Okay. So this is what happened. He tried to talk to me for a while. He tried to get with me for a while and I wasn't feeling it. I was like, you know what? We're friends. Yeah. I'm not feeling it. And then the moment when I started to catch feelings, the moment where I was like, you know what? You're not bad. We can actually, because we're friends. I'm a strong believer of being friends with somebody before dating. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we were friends at that time. And I was like, you know what? You have potentials and qualities that, I really like. And we could be together. So I made my feelings clear and then we started talking and whatever. And so we're together and we weren't together. We weren't dating, but we were just communicating more. And so like he started moving and this is what happened. He started moving like 100 miles an hour. Like he just started saying stuff like marriage and mentioning kids and stuff. And so that's when I backtracked and I was like, whoa, like, like I'm not trying to, that's too much. I backtracked a little bit. And then when I told him, I was like, like I really like you, like we're moving the right direction. But however, like this kid stuff and marriage stuff you're bringing up is just a little too much.
You haven't even asked me out.
A little too fast. And you haven't asked me out. And respectfully, if you don't ask me to be your girlfriend, we are not dating. I'm not gonna claim you to period. Be my man. Yeah. So when I made my feelings clear, that's when he was just like, whoa, like I wasn't trying to even be your boyfriend or anything. Yeah. He was like, this is what he said. He's like, that's what he's been trying to tell me. He's been trying to tell me that he doesn't want to be in a relationship with me. But keep in mind, all he said to me was like
about being in a relationship. Yeah.
So I'm like confused. Like, what are you doing? And what kind of experiences haven't I had? Like dating is just
that one definitely upset me because I was just like, you got some nerve. Like, and it's that thing where like, like a guy is asking you out And I've obviously gone through this before. You know this. I have said that to you, but it's like someone is asking you out, and then the minute you tell them like, oh yeah, let's date, it's like they take like 10 steps backwards. But that can literally make you just like, no, like, yeah, no, cut it out. Like I'm done. Like, because why are you asking me out? And then when I tell you like, let's go out, and then it's like,
you're backtracking.
No, but it's one of those things where like you kind of have to read the room and like make decisions for yourself. At the end of the day, like, you're not making a decision for anybody else. Like, that decision has to be made for you.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. The last thing we're gonna talk about before we end the podcast is, if you were to advise your 16 to 20-year-old self, what would that advice be?
Well, I would tell her to definitely like slow down a little bit.
That's exactly what
like don't be in a hurry, because I remember back then, like, the relationship that I was in, because like I was only in one, like, I think it was a 2-year relationship or something like that. But I would definitely tell her to slow down, because you have no business being in that type of relationship where like one is just, it's a mind fuck, like it's manipulative, he's a narcissist, like how can I not remember any one good thing out of that relationship? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. It's hard for me to think about like, oh, we actually had fun on so and so day. Like, I literally cannot remember any good thing about it, So I'll definitely tell her to slow down. Like, you're gonna meet an absolutely, like, literally your dream man. You're gonna meet your dream man, and like, just slow down. When that time comes, you're gonna be happy. However, I don't regret what happened, because I feel like the standards I have right now, that was my trial relationship. It was like, okay, that was my trial period to kind of learn about myself, because like, there is a statement that you're a villain in everybody's story, right? Not everybody, but you're a villain in someone's story. And I feel like I might be a villain in someone's story, like someone else's story. You just don't know. Why are you laughing?
I said I feel like I'm probably a villain in couple stories.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm definitely a villain in someone's story, right? But regardless of that, like, I feel like I definitely learned from that relationship, But
for me, what I would advise my 16-year-old self would be, good things come to those who wait. Like, it's the same thing, like you said, like patience. I would tell my 16-year-old self to be patient, because good things are coming. It might not be like relationship wise, just life. I would tell her to slow down as well. Just be a little bit more patient and value yourself a lot more. Like, value yourself and give yourself a lot more respect, because you're gonna be a great person. But anyways, guys, we have come to the end of the episode. If you liked it, go ahead and, as always, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and like our content on Instagram. Leave us comments and reviews. Leave us comments on Spotify, guys. Go on Spotify and leave us comments. Let us know how the episode was, if you want us to talk about anything. But thank you guys so much for always showing us love, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.